Okay, I'm a little different anyway. My title was "Who Job Is This?" And so I put that because this is something that's going to be near and dear to everyone. Now, so my project was I set out to create a pamphlet or a checklist to be brief at the neonatal NICU at the hospital for parents. So what I'm saying is, when your child was, no, listen, when your child was born and you didn't know of the condition or the situation, who told you anything?
Nobody.
So, and so my thing is, whose job is it? Is it the doctor? Is it the nurse? Social services? And so, because this happened to me, it happened to everybody else and everything too. And so I wanted to know, why didn't they have a checklist? Why didn't they have a pamphlet to brief you? Because once they booted you out of the NICU and they sent you home, you lost. You lost. And then since you didn't have the knowledge before, because you didn't see this coming, who do you go to? So my thing was, we need to have something like a checklist or at least a briefing once before you leave the hospital that says, hey, your child may have this, you want to go here, you want to do this. And because, my wife's sitting here. And so when it happened to us, we didn't know anything. You just overwhelmed and you don't know what questions to ask or what to do. And so before you know it, you're going home with this child and you got tons of questions and nowhere to go. So I wanted to keep it simple. And like I said too, I got here, this is something I said was personal to me. And this happened to all the families. And, who's going to explain to you what went wrong? If any, you don't know. And so everybody's got a story to tell. And I'm still blaming somebody, not myself. But so one of the things I was looking at was my plans. My plans were to get this drafted. So I do have a draft pamphlet. I think I got a copy, but I also got one here too. And I made it like a checklist. And the one thing that I did was I did some research. I went online, I couldn't find anything. I even visited several hospitals in the Montgomery area to ask them, what do they have in this situation? I got the deer in the headlight look. I even talked to a social worker. Even talked to, they wouldn't let me upstairs in the NICU or hospital. So I couldn't get nothing out of them. And so when I asked the question, they're like, what are you talking about? I said, okay, what do you do before people get discharged from the hospital? You send these families home and they're lost. So my project timeline, I wanted to create a pamphlet by May 2000. Well, I got the pamphlet done. My next thing is I'm going to go ahead and look at people who want to had vetted interest in this procedure, and then also present this down the road to hospital administration, because I can't go over to the hospital and say, hey, this is what you need to do. You got to go ahead and talk to somebody and see if we can get this done, because it might be an extra step for somebody to do in their job. And so I still got to get my bum buddy, Mr. James. He's going to help me with some of this. He don't know it yet. And so, like I said, I'm going to be quick. I have my little brochure, and I'm going to send it around to you guys because I want your input. I want you to tell me, what should we ask for? What should we do to help brief families? So once they have their child and whatnot, and before they kick you out of the hospital, hey, we need to tell them this, we need to tell them that. And I just put a few. And here's an example. And I had my wife help me with this too. So, for example, how do we know that we need to get the best pediatrician they got out there? Because most pediatricians are not disabled or pediatricians that help people with disabilities. You have a pediatrician, they don't have a clue about what's going on. And so my thing on that right there, you talk to us and get referrals. The other one is early intervention. How do you know about early intervention? You contact somebody. And so I went on down the list. Alabama Department of Rehab, file for Social Security, file for Medicaid. Those are the things that need to be briefed to the parents before they leave. Because a lot of people don't know that you could have applied for Medicaid right off the bat, whether you qualify or not. And it's all about income base. Well, I applied so many times that when my child got eligible, they just gave it to her. Because, both me, and you got to know, because they're saying, well, you don't qualify. Okay, I'll keep on applying. Yeah, so I must apply about 7 times, but then I had to wait till she's of age because of our income. And so same thing with Medicaid. There's so many things that's out there, but if you don't apply, if you don't know to apply, that's the biggest thing. If you don't know to apply, and then you just miss out. And so, and then on my little thing here, I even had on the bottom here where it says, like a checklist with a signature. Like I said, I'm going to pass this around. A signature and date of the parent and then the person that actually briefed them. Because, if you don't do something for the family, then, what are they going to do? They're going to be lost. And so this right here was just part of my project to get this pamphlet done. Now I want to go ahead and get it vetted. And then I'm going to go ahead and reach out to hospital administration as far as implementation, and then move on from there. So, like I say, this is one that was dear to my heart because all of us had to go through this, whether you knew it or not. And so, yeah, as I say, I'm going to be quick. I've got questions. So, am I getting questions?
I have a comment, Melvin.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really needed as a parent that my son spent 2.5 months at Children's Hospital and was transferred. We spent 2.5 months at Children's, so he was 5 months old when he first came home, weighing less than 8 pounds. I did not know that we were eligible for, or that early intervention even existed until he had a severe asthma attack, which the clinic was closing. And I told him by the time I get there, the clinic will be closed at UAB. And he says, just call my cell phone when you get here and I'll meet you at the clinic. Well, little did I know, Jane Dewar, son was having a severe asthma attack. And if my son hadn't had that asthma attack, I would have never, ever known about early intervention. So, and he was 11 months old when I first found out about early intervention.
And that's what I'm saying, too. We should have that little briefing
Yes.
prior to you leaving because, like I say,
Because you don't know what you don't know.
well, once you leave, you're lost. Yes, ma'am.
What did you encounter when you tried to meet with social workers in the hospital? In my personal opinion, sometimes it's an impedance.
Well,
Or that they're not, that they're not helpful, and that there are certain patients and certain children in the NICU who already should have been put on a waiver, who already should have been helped the family to apply for Medicaid to be necessary to get it. They needed to be in the hospital.
What I found out, Melvin, is when I was in the unit, I heard other parents talk about all these programs. And when I went to the social worker, she just told me, oh, you're not eligible because of your income.
yeah.
And so we missed out because I was not educated.
Right, and that's just it.
And because those kids were getting, I found out he was supposed to be a PT and OT, and he qualified the moment he was born when
Yep.
they found out. But they told us we didn't qualify for anything. But if you didn't have, if you didn't have a resource, financial resources, I saw people get those.
Mhm, yeah.
dates.
Thank you, Melvin.